Outside the dungeon, the two empires remained in a standoff. Almost an hour had just passed, and another conflict had erupted between the two empires. Neither side had the upper hand. Suddenly, 5 figures emerged from the dungeon entrance. The people from the Sakura Kingdom were shocked at first, then started sneering upon seeing them, saying things like, "Only half an hour and they're out? Looks like they couldn't handle it and ran away." Another remarked, "Those skeletons are only good as meat shields." In their eyes, the skeletal warriors were merely a tad tankier and had a number advantage, nothing more. The members of the Sakura Empire were quick to mock and scoff. They never would have believed that Lin and his group had cleared the dungeon. On the other hand, the people from the Divine Empire and the Hidden Dragon Squad let out a sigh of relief upon seeing Lin and his party members return safely. Everyone began comforting them, saying, "It's okay. What's important is they came back safely." Jacob scoffed. "Lucky you guys even made it out alive, insisting on leading the group into the dungeon, and look what happened. Failed, didn't you?" No one paid attention to Jacob. Tao Tao scanned the surroundings and noticed that nobody else had entered the dungeon. She instructed her party to be on guard, prompting Oliver and Emma to draw their weapons and stand in front of the dungeon entrance. Tao Tao turned to Ning Yi Yi and signaled her to do as they had planned. Ning Yi Yi pulled out the cooldown amulet from her bag, nodding to Tao Tao, telling her they were ready to go. Under the watchful eyes of all, Ning Yi Yi took out a cooldown amulet and activated it. In a faint glow, the dungeon's cooldown timer was reset to 0. The duo quickly entered the dungeon again. Tao Tao, Oliver, and Emma cheered them on, and then retreated back into the ranks of the Divine Empire. When everyone saw Ning Yi Yi using the cooldown amulet, they quickly realized that her identity was no ordinary one. Acquiring a basic cooldown amulet was no easy task. It was a sought-after item that would cost a fortune to purchase it. The more observant among them noticed that the two had chosen the dungeon's nightmare difficulty. Tao Tao gazed towards the dungeon entrance, hoping that the duo would be successful. Emma chuckled. They had all witnessed Lin's capabilities, reassuring Tao Tao that they'll definitely be all right. Tao Tao smiled and stowed away her shield. Inside the dungeon, Ning Yi Yi's face beamed brightly, making even the dungeon's foul smell seem less intolerable. She had previously asked Lin to bring her along for a dungeon run to level up before they parted last time, and she hadn't expected the wish to come true so soon. Lin smiled, saying that if he promised something, he would make sure to deliver. Ning Yi Yi's smile grew even brighter as she responded, "Then Lin have to keep bringing her along in the future, and not just this one time." Lin agreed. The two pressed on, with Ning Yi Yi's cooldown amulet still having 5 uses left. If she were to bring along the rest of the party members, they could only go through one more round. However, if it were just Ning Yi Yi and Lin, they could go through 2 more rounds. After discussing, they decided that only Lin and Ning Yi Yi would tackle the dungeon. They were determined to seize this opportunity and obtain all 3 mermaids' tears. With the experience from their previous venture, Lin didn't waste time fighting mobs one by one. He summoned skeletal warriors, allowing them to attack freely, advancing along the corridor. Minutes later, all the elite Murloc soldiers in the passage were defeated. They soon arrived in the cavern of the Mermaid Queen's pet snake. A 30-meter python leaped out of the water. Drawing from his prior experience, Lin swiftly cast a slowing curse on the python, and dozens of skeletal warriors simultaneously launched their attacks on it. The python was defeated before it could even react, letting out a mournful cry as it collapsed. System notification. Defeated, the level 23 pet snake of the Mermaid Queen. Experience gained 125,000. Acquired silver tier armor, snakeskin light armor. Acquired an intermediate monster core. The last time they fought this far, it took them a long time to progress by defeating monsters one by one. This time, it only took 5 minutes. Ning Yi Yi smiled, and her eyes turned to the shape of crescent moons, praising Lin for becoming even stronger. The duo pressed on towards the Mermaid Queen's palace, soon arriving outside. Many elite Murloc soldiers patrolled outside the palace. Skeletal warriors quickly dashed forth, swiftly eliminating the mobs. The Mermaid Queen then made her appearance, with a shimmering blue glow as her palace gates opened again. The beautiful mermaid queen emerged from within. Having had the experience before, Ning Yi quickly ducked behind Lin, knowing not to make direct eye contact to avoid getting seduced by the mermaid queen. With Lin acting as a shield, she was safe. Ning Yi playfully shouted, "Go, Lin! I choose you!" prompting a chuckle and a shake of the head from Lin. This time, armed with prior knowledge and being well prepared, Lin used his skill, Slowing Curse. Under the massive chains, the mermaid queen's speed significantly decreased. The skeletal warriors simultaneously hurled several dead Murloc soldiers toward the mermaid queen. Then he used skill, Corpse Explosion, a conventional and somewhat cliched move, but highly effective. During a series of explosions, the mermaid queen let out a cry and fell, not even having a chance to use her skills. System notification: defeated the mermaid queen. Experience gained 200,000. Acquired silver tier weapon, Mermaid Queen's Dagger. Acquired silver tier weapon, Mermaid Queen's Spellbook. Received Mermaid's Tier. Ning Yi greeted Tao Tao, Emma, and Oliver, then used her cooldown amulet for the second time. A few seconds later, the duo entered the dungeon again. The onlooking crowd from the Sakura Empire was puzzled. Why did they come out as soon as they went in? It had only been about 10 minutes, not even enough time to defeat a single mob. Some even scoffed, saying it's just rich folks, only know how to waste. They squandered such a precious cooldown amulet. Perhaps even if they racked their brains, they would never realize that the duo was currently conquering the mermaid dungeon at nightmare difficulty. Only Tao Tao and the party members knew what was really going on. The trio exchanged glances, their eyes filled with astonishment. They were, of course, well aware of Lin's capability to solo the mermaid dungeon, but they couldn't have imagined it would be cleared in just 10 minutes. Inside the dungeon, Ning Yi kept glancing at the timer on their communicator, curious about how long it would take this time, and wondered if they could surpass their previous record. Lin couldn't help but chuckle at her antics. While others treated the trials as missions, Ning Yi seemed to treat them as a game. After defeating the mermaid queen, the final timer read 8 minutes and 58 seconds, even faster than their last attempt. With the third mermaid tear in their possession, the duo left the dungeon. When the two of them exited this time, they didn't re-enter the dungeon. People from the Sakura Empire were loudly shouting, each one of them showing disdain. They ceaselessly mocked them, and in their eyes, envy was more predominant. They seemed eager to snatch away the cooldown amulet in Ning Yi's hands. Lin and Ning Yi ignored them, simply heading towards the trio. After Lin and Ning Yi returned, they rejoined the party. Suddenly, someone pointed at the dungeon entrance, shouting, "The dungeon gate has disappeared!" The announcement was like a bolt from the blue, causing everyone to turn their heads. The entrance of the dungeon began to tremble, and after a few shakes, the vortex at the entrance vanished entirely. Everyone knew that the dungeon would only disappear once all 3 mermaid tiers were obtained. What on earth had happened? Suddenly, some remembered that Lin's team had just entered 3 times. Could it be them? Regardless of the possibilities, the dungeon vanished in front of their eyes. They knew it was impossible to get the mermaid tiers again. Since the trial is complete, Lin advised his party to leave. Captain Tao Tao nodded in agreement. Regardless of what had happened, the people of the Sakura Empire naturally couldn't let Lin's team of 5 go. The mermaid tiers must have been obtained by them. They demanded Lin's party to hand them over. People from the Sakura Empire were furious, and everyone surged forward aggressively. The people from the Divine Empire were also puzzled. Some looked towards the team of 5, asking if they really had the tiers. Tao Tao didn't deny it, affirming that the mermaid tiers were indeed in her possession. Everyone took a sharp intake of breath. This confirmed that they had indeed cleared the dungeon. Doubt was evident in nearly everyone's eyes, but regardless of their confusion, their priority was to unite against the common enemy. They quickly formed a battle formation and charged towards the people of the Sakura Empire. Suddenly, a loud rumble echoed in the sky. A person from the Sakura Empire appeared in front of Lin, with 2 massive shikigamis hovering in the air. The Onmyoji revealed himself. He sat atop one of the shikigamis, and solely from the looks, it was evident that he was very powerful. Tao Tao appeared slightly tense, recognizing that this profession was unique to the Sakura Empire. It was the legendary class Onmyoji, which can summon powerful Shikigamis. It won't be easy to handle. Just as Tao Tao was about to rush forward, Lin had already made his move. A flash of flames erupted in the palm of his hand. Skill, Soul Flame. One of the Shikigamis had a flame appearing above its head. In the blink of an eye, the flame penetrated the Shikigami. The Shikigami let out a deafening, earth-shaking scream. The Onmyoji's expression shifted instantly. Without hesitation, he activated his skill and coldly glared at Lin, saying, "You are seeking death!" A surge of dark mist rapidly emanated from within him, spreading outwards. Accompanied by an ancient and deep chant, another terrifying Shikigami appeared in the sky. Standing much larger than the previous Shikigami, this Shikigami wore armor, had a serpent's head on a humanoid body, and wielded a massive axe. As soon as it appeared, it lunged towards Lin. The attacks from the Hidden Dragon Squad seemed ineffective against it. The Onmyoji sneered. With their level of attacks, they could at best just tickle his Shikigami. Several skeletal warriors simultaneously leaped high into the air, confronting the descending giant axe Shikigami. All at once, they used the skill, Rampage Strike. Their great sword gleamed with a red glow. With an impressive strength of 2,700, these skeletal warriors, in an unexpected turn of events, swiftly vanquished what seemed like a powerful Shikigami, causing it to turn into a wisp of blue smoke and disperse into the air. Lin was slightly taken aback. How could it be so weak? A Shikigami that looked so mighty was surprisingly fragile. The others were also dumbfounded. Their attacks had seemed ineffective, yet Lin's skeletons managed to cut down the seemingly powerful Shikigami in just a few strikes. Was the Shikigami truly that weak, or were the skeletons simply too strong? After the Shikigami was defeated, the Onmyoji, who was its master, suffered a backlash. His face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, a beam of flame appeared again in Lin's hand. The Shikigami, which was already wailing in pain, was struck by the soul flame once again. Two skeletal warriors silently appeared by its side, their blades cutting through the Shikigami. Seeing another two skeletal warriors charging at him, the Onmyoji screamed again, and hurriedly everyone was shocked by this scene. During the chaotic battle, both sides halted. The people of the Sakura Empire looked at Lin with nothing but fear. They couldn't believe that his skeletons were so powerful, easily cutting down the strongest Shikigami from their side. They began to question Lin's level and profession. The Onmyoji knew that Lin was a level 17 necromancer. He thought that Lin must have awakened some unique talent. Being so powerful only at level 17, it only suggested that this necromancer profession was much more powerful than anyone had imagined. He had to bring this intelligence back. The Divine Empire had a new powerful professional among their ranks. With that thought, he rode away on his Shikigami without looking back, abandoning his party and the people. Several more skeletal warriors emerged from the ground, lining up and standing in the center of the field. They emitted a pale blue-white glow from head to toe, and the great swords in their hands gleamed with a chilling light. The flames in their eye socket flickered continuously, with gusts of cold wind blowing. Step by step, they approached the professionals of the Sakura Empire. Seeing even the most powerful professional among them fleeing, the rest didn't dare to stay. One person started to flee, followed by a whole group. With everyone screaming and running away, the Sakura Empire's formation completely collapsed. The professionals from the Divine Empire, laughing and talking among themselves. Those guys from Sakura Nation are so funny. They got scared and ran away. Seeing them flee in such a panicked state was truly hilarious. With so many professionals, they were scared away by a few skeletons. They're utterly useless. Another pointed out that these skeletons can even tackle nightmare-level dungeons. If it really came down to a fight, wouldn't those from the Sakura Empire just be serving themselves up? Of course, they had to run, or they'd be dead. Many looked towards Lin while discussing. Lin's actions speak louder than words. The image of Lin swiftly killing the Shikigami just a while ago remained vivid in their minds. Everyone seemed relaxed, except for Jacob. His gaze, now and then shifting to Lin, was filled with resentment and regret. Had he not pressured Tao Tao or threatened the party before, he too would have been one of those who completed the trial. Then, he shook his head. In his heart, he felt he had done nothing wrong. His hatred towards Lin was overwhelming. Staring at Lin's back, he thought, "Just you wait." After the party returned to the trial stone and completed the trial, they were enveloped by a shining light. They soon found themselves in front of the virtual shadow of Divine Tower. A few seconds later, a majestic, deep voice echoed, "Trial mission is over. Begin the return." Each person was swiftly teleported back. In just over 10 seconds, they were back at the academy. Once in the classroom, Ning Yi Yi, exhausted, collapsed onto her desk. Tao Tao, with a smile on her face, relaxed after returning. Gratefully, Tao Tao approached Lin to thank him for his help during the trial. It was incredibly crucial for her. Lin simply implied that no thanks were needed. Ning Yi Yi chimed in saying Tao Tao was being too formal with Lin, saying, "Lin may not talk much, but he's genuinely kind-hearted." Even though she hadn't spent much time with Lin, Ning Yi Yi had an unwavering trust in him. Tao Tao smiled warmly as she looked at the two. Suddenly, Lin's communicator buzzed with a new message. It was from White Divine, summoning him to the administration office. A few minutes later, Lin arrived to find White Divine sitting, waiting for him. White Divine gave a hearty laugh, waving Lin over, mentioning he had seen the video recording of the trial. He complimented Lin on his excellent performance. Uncertain about why White Divine had called him, Lin simply responded he had done what was expected of him. White Divine's smile widened, unfazed in victory and defeat, such is the temperament of top warriors. White Divine was pleased with Lin and proceeded to ask if Lin knew the purpose of the mermaid's tear. Lin shook his head. He was mostly clueless. He still had no idea about the significance of the mermaid's tear, despite it being the objective of the trial. White Divine explained that very few were aware of its use in the trial, considering most were under-leveled for the item rendering it useless for most. The mermaid's tear, he revealed, was crucial for the successful awakening of talents during the second phase at level 40. Items that could aid in such awakenings were exceedingly rare. Even though the mermaid's tear was a lower-grade item, it's still very valuable. This time, Sakura Empire had figured out the location and time of the appearance of Mermaid Island, almost leading to the trial's failure. Thankfully, with Lin here, they secured the mermaid tear for their empire. White Divine then asked Lin what he wanted as a reward. Remembering that he couldn't access information about his sister, Lin asked White Divine if he could help him find someone. White Divine chuckled, anticipating Lin's request. He explained that Lin's sister, Lin Mohan, had joined the Creators Academy at the beginning of the year, which is why Lin could only see blank records. All students who join the Creators Academy have blank profiles, and this revelation left Lin somewhat shocked. His sister had joined the Creators Academy. He recalls Tao Tao's ultimate dream was to be a part of that academy. Ning Yi Yi and Charlotte also told him that once he gets the opportunity, he should join the Creators Academy. In his mind, the academy always held an aura of mystique. To his surprise, his sister had already joined the academy, despite being in the school for less than a year. He wondered what prompted his sister to join the Creator Academy. Even people like Tao Tao, who were a part of the elite Hidden Dragon Squad, couldn't even get into the academy. White Divine seemed to sense the questions in Lin's heart. However, due to regulations, he couldn't disclose information about students of the Creators Academy. Before Lin joined the academy, he would not be able to see his sister. Without hesitation, Lin asked, "What's the requirement to join the Creators Academy?" White Divine, having anticipated this question, quickly fiddled with his communicator. Moments later, Lin's device chimed, indicating a new message. About Lin's sister's matter, White Divine felt he should have been informed already, so this didn't count as a reward. Lin could ask for another one. After some thought, Lin spoke. He would like a cooldown amulet. Lin knew how rare and invaluable these were, practically unobtainable in the open market, and for him, it would be incredibly useful. White Divine laughed heartily, thumping the table. Even a basic cooldown amulet was an extremely valuable possession. Although Lin had done well during the trial, a single trial was not enough to earn such a reward. Instead, White Divine offered Lin another task. If completed, he would secure the amulet for him. Lin accepted without hesitation. With a basic cooldown amulet, he could repeatedly challenge dungeons in a short amount of time, significantly boosting his leveling speed. White Divine advised Lin to reach level 20 before taking on this new task. If he was in a hurry, he suggested Lin level up at the Academy's dungeon hall. White Divine handed him a teleportation stone, mentioning it was an exclusive pass to the dungeon hall, not something every student possessed. Without uttering a word, Lin immediately used the teleportation stone, much to White Divine's surprise. Arriving at the dungeon hall,